Let's get back to that UN-Israel vote. The U.S. abstaining from that vote that led to the anti-Israel resolution. Secretary of State John Kerry slamming Israel while explaining the decision to abstain. All right, let's bring in our good friend, Governor Mike Huckabee. Governor, look, simply put, we're alienating our biggest ally in the Mideast. Were you surprised at the rhetoric of John Kerry's speech?
It was shocking, Ashley. I mean, I can't believe that he went up there and made the comment, particularly saying Israel can either be a democracy or they can be Jewish, but they can't be both. Well, they have been both for 4,000 years. And by the way, John Kerry, there's no such thing as a two-state solution if you want to put terrorists on top of people who are trying to make peace. This is the most unbelievable and irrational statecraft that I've ever seen. And why the Obama administration would wait 3 weeks before they leave to go trash the entire global scene is beyond me. But let me just be explicitly clear. The Israelis have made overtures hundreds of times to the Palestinians, and every time they have, one of two things happen. It's either outright rejected, or when they give up land, well, what they get is not peace. They get missiles. I've been to Sderot on several occasions. There's over 4,000 Katyusha rockets stacked up behind the police station in Sderot because in Gaza they fire missiles from the very community that the Israelis left by force because they thought that if they gave up that land there would be peace. Well, there hasn't been. It's been a disaster. So John Kerry lecturing the Israelis on peace and concessions, it's like trying to tell Texas that they need to go back to Mexico and give up that land. I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah, look, you know, Mr. Obama is not exactly leaving the White House, as you pointed out, graciously. Now we have this whole spat with Russia, leaving it to the last moment to get into that. And today, Vladimir Putin saying, look, I'm not going to do the tit for tat. I'm not going to throw out U.S. diplomats. I'm going to wait for Donald Trump. But that's kind of a tough thing for Donald Trump to have to handle right as he gets into the White House, isn't it?
Well, I think he can handle it a whole lot better than it's been handled by this administration over 8 years, and they still try to put forth this narrative that somehow Putin affected the outcome of the election. But he didn't, and nobody has been able to prove anything like that. Did the Russians hack us? I'm sure they did if they could, but you know what gets lost in all this thing about the Russians and the elections? Do we not remember how it happened? Part because Hillary puts a private server in her bathroom that she was putting there illegally, and the other part is because John Podesta stupidly gave his password up to a hacker. I mean, shouldn't we be blaming dumb Democrats as much as we should the fact that someone tried? I mean, I had an attempted hack this week, but I wasn't stupid enough to give them all my information and invite them into my computer. You know, we failed to remember that's how they got hacked.
Well, what should we do with it if, you know, the intelligence community says, look, we have proof? What should be the response? Should there be sanctions? Should we kick out Russian diplomats?
Whether we should kick them out, I'm not sure that that's going to be productive. I think we ought to build a better firewall. We ought to be working on cybersecurity. And by the way, does anybody listening to us believe that the U.S. isn't attempting to hack the Chinese, the Russians, the Iranians, and anybody else that we're afraid of? I mean, you know, we're acting so high and mighty. And again, I think what the Russians did, if they in fact really did it, is deplorable. But they did it because that's what countries do to each other in this world of cyberspace. And I'm sure that we're doing everything we can in our own intelligence operations to try to tap into every foreign government that we can find a hole in.
Well, it's also just a passing shot, if you like, to raise the specter Russia did indeed affect the outcome of the election. There's a little bit of that in there as well.
Well, but let's just be clear. Russia didn't affect this election. If Hillary wants to know why she lost, go down to Walgreens, spend $4, buy a little mirror, look in it, and you'll have the answer. And you won't have to spend millions of dollars blaming the Russians. It's a real simple reason. Hillary didn't campaign in key states. She didn't even campaign many weeks.
They lost.
And her message absolutely stunk up the place. That's why she lost.
Exactly. Mike Huckabee, Governor Huckabee, thank you so much for joining us, as always.
Thanks, Ashley. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well.